Hey there, I'm Russo, and I'm not big on birthdays. No parties, no Instagram posts with balloons and 35 and thriving captions. Honestly, I'd forget the day entirely if my husband, Jason, didn't surprise me with a chocolate bar and a cheesy joke about being married to an older woman. That's my kind of celebration: pancakes, coffee in bed, and our quiet little life in suburban Chicago. But this year, my 35th birthday took a turn I never saw coming. My phone rang the day before, and it was my mom, her voice dripping with this weird, syrupy sweetness that set off alarm bells. "Sweetheart, we sent you a little surprise," she said, giggling, which my mom never does. She mentioned a gift box arriving, right on time, but with my parents, nothing's ever on time unless it's for my younger sister, Ellie. Growing up, Ellie was the golden child, always coddled, while I was the responsible one, stuck cleaning up her messes. So when Mom called this a token of love, I wanted to believe it, but deep down, I knew something was off. And when that plain brown box showed up on my doorstep, I had no idea it had turned my world upside down. The morning of my 35th birthday started like any other quiet day in our cozy Chicago suburb home. Jason was flipping pancakes in the kitchen, the smell of maple syrup mixing with my fresh coffee, while I lounged in bed, savoring the rare moment of peace before the day's hustle kicked in. As a freelance graphic designer, I'm used to juggling deadlines, but birthdays? They're just another day, until the doorbell rang. I heard Jason's footsteps, the creak of the front door, and then silence. Not the "oh, it's just Amazon" kind of silence, but the kind that makes your stomach tighten. I slipped on my slippers and padded to the kitchen, where Jason stood over a plain brown cardboard box on the counter. No ribbons, no glittery happy birthday sticker, no oversized bow like you'd expect from a gift. Just a box, taped shut like it was packed by a machine, with a printed shipping label slapped on top. It looked like something you'd get from a warehouse, not a heartfelt present from family. "That's from my parents," I said, trying to sound casual, though my mom's weirdly sweet phone call from yesterday still echoed in my head. She'd called it a token of love, but love from my parents always came with strings attached. Jason didn't respond right away. He just stared at the box, his hands on his hips, like it was a puzzle he couldn't crack. "What?" I asked, half laughing. "You think it's cursed or something?" He didn't laugh back. That's when I knew something was wrong. Jason's the guy who cracks jokes about my terrible parallel parking or teases me when I burn toast. If he's not laughing, it's serious. He nodded toward the label. "Look at it," he said, his voice low, like he was afraid the box might hear him. I stepped closer, squinting at the label. My name, Russo Carter, was printed in plain black font, along with our address. But the return address? A P.O. box in some random town I'd never heard of, not my parents' street in Ohio, not even their city. My heart gave a little thud, like it was trying to warn me. "Do you see it?" Jason asked, tapping the edge of the box with one finger. I leaned in closer, and that's when I noticed it. The label wasn't just plain, it was too plain. No handwriting, no personal touch, not even a smudge. It was the kind of label you'd see on bulk shipments, not a birthday gift. And the box itself? It had this faint smell, like varnish and glue, not the kind of thing you'd expect from a token of love. My mind flashed back to last year, when Jason and I stopped by my sister Ellie's apartment to drop off some dishes. Her hallway was stacked with boxes just like this one, same glossy finish, same clinical packaging. She'd been knee-deep in packing peanuts, calling it her inventory for some artsy side hustle she was running. When I'd picked up one of those boxes, she'd snapped at me to put it down, saying her supplier was strict about who touched what. Strict. Not careful, not expensive, strict. That word stuck with me, and now, staring at this box on my kitchen counter, it felt like a ghost from that moment had followed me home. "Don't open it," Jason said, his voice firm now, like he was giving an order. I looked at him, waiting for the punchline. But his eyes were locked on the box, his jaw tight. "Why not?" I asked, trying to keep my tone light, but my hands were already clammy. "Can't you see it?" he said, pointing again at the label. Then at the edges of the box, where the tape was perfectly aligned, like it had been sealed with surgical precision. I wanted to laugh it off, to say he was being paranoid, but something in his voice stopped me. Jason's a software engineer, the kind of guy who notices details, like when a line of code is off or when a package doesn't add up. And this package? It wasn't adding up. I stepped back, my heart tripping over itself, not quite fear yet, but a heavy kind of dread, like the feeling you get when you know a storm's coming but can't see it yet. Just then, my phone buzzed on the counter, the screen lighting up with Mom in bold letters. My stomach dropped. Jason glanced at the screen, then at me, his expression unreadable. I hesitated, my thumb hovering over the answer button. The last time my mom called twice in 2 days was when Ellie borrowed $600 from me for her failed bath bomb business, and Mom wanted me to be supportive. I hit speaker and swiped to answer. "Sweetie," my mom's voice chirped, that same syrupy tone from yesterday, like she was auditioning for a Hallmark commercial. "Did it arrive? Your little surprise?" I glanced at the box, still sitting there like it was watching us. Jason didn't move, his arms crossed, his eyes on me like he was waiting for my next move. "Yeah," I said, my voice flat. "It came." "Did you open it?" she asked, her voice so eager it felt like a trap. I froze. Something about the way she said it, the way she leaned into the question, made my skin crawl. My mom doesn't do eager. She does guilt trips and passive-aggressive comments about my sensitivity, but never eager. I looked at Jason, who shook his head slightly, like he was saying, "Don't do it."
"Yeah, elite."
My voice steady despite the knot in my chest. I opened it. "It's beautiful. Thank you." The words felt like sand in my mouth, but I needed to see where this was going. There was a pause on the other end, then a laugh, too bright, too forced. "Oh, sweetheart, we just wanted to remind you how much we love you. You're our girl. Don't ever forget that." My stomach twisted. My mom had never called me our girl. Not when I graduated college, not when I got married, not even when I sat on her couch, sobbing after a miscarriage 2 years ago. Jason's eyes narrowed, and I knew he heard it too. The fakeness, the performance. "Well," she went on, her voice all sing-songy, "we just thought you deserved something nice. You're so strong. Always have been." Then the line went dead. No goodbye, no talk soon, just a click. I set the phone down, my hands shaking slightly. Jason didn't say anything for a long moment, and neither did I. The box sat between us, silent but heavy, like it was daring us to touch it. "I hate how nice she was," I said finally, my voice barely above a whisper. Jason nodded. "I know. She only calls you sweetie when she's lying." He was right. I could count on one hand the times my mom had called me that, and every single one came with a catch, like the time she forgot to invite me to Christmas because Ellie was going through something. Or the time they gave Ellie a Peloton for her birthday and me a half-used candle from a gas station. Jason smirked, trying to lighten the mood. "I'm pretty sure that candle was expired." I laughed, but it was hollow, my eyes still on the box. We stood there, the kitchen clock ticking louder than it should have. I wanted to kick the box out the door, maybe set it on fire for good measure. But I didn't move. Neither did Jason. It was like we were both waiting for the other to decide what came next. I thought about Ellie's apartment again, those boxes. Her nervous laugh when I'd asked about them. "The supplier tracks who opens what," she'd said. Tracks. Like they were watching. And now one of those boxes was here in my kitchen with my name on it. Not Ellie's, not my parents', mine. I didn't touch it again. Neither did Jason. We just let it sit there, taking up space, saying nothing but somehow saying everything. The kitchen was still. The air heavy with the weight of that plain brown box sitting on the counter. Jason and I hadn't touched it since my mom's call, her syrupy voice still ringing in my ears. All fake sweetness and, "You're our girl." I was trying to shake off the unease, sipping cold coffee, when a sharp knock at the door jolted me upright. My heart skipped. Not the casual package delivery kind of knock, but something heavier, official. Jason glanced at me, his jaw tight, and walked to the door. I followed, my slippers scuffing the hardwood floor of our Chicago suburb home. When he opened it, 2 police officers stood there, uniforms crisp, faces blank in that practiced way cops have. Are you Russo, Carter? The taller one asked, his voice calm but clipped. I nodded, my throat dry. We received a report about a suspicious package delivered to this address. Mind if we come in and ask a few questions? My stomach dropped like I'd missed a step on a staircase. Jason stepped aside, and I gestured them in, trying to keep my voice steady. Sure, come in. They walked into the kitchen, their boots heavy on the tile, eyes scanning the room like they were cataloging every detail, the half-eaten pancakes on the counter, the coffee mug with World's Okayest Designer printed on it, and, of course, the box. It sat there, unassuming but screaming guilt, like it knew exactly why they were here. That's the one, I said, pointing to it, my voice betraying a slight shake. The shorter officer, a woman with a tight bun, nodded and approached the box, pulling on a pair of blue gloves with a snap that echoed in the quiet room. Her partner stood back, watching us, his hand resting casually near his belt. You haven't opened it? She asked, glancing at the pristine tape. No, I said, exchanging a quick look with Jason. It's a birthday gift for my parents. At least, that's what they said. She raised an eyebrow but didn't push. Just pulled out a small box cutter and started slicing through the tape with surgical precision. The flaps peeled back with a dry, rasping sound, and my heart was pounding so loud I was sure they could hear it. Inside was bubble wrap, neatly packed, cushioning a few small figurines, shiny, abstract things that looked like they belonged in a gallery gift shop for people who overpay to feel cultured. There was a certificate of authenticity tucked in the corner, a glossy slip of paper with my name printed on it, and a shipping manifest. The officer scanned the contents, her face unreadable, then picked up one of the figurines and turned it over. She scanned a QR code on the bottom with her phone, her lips pressing into a thin line. Her partner caught her eye, and they exchanged a look I couldn't decode, professional but loaded. Do you know what these are? She asked, holding up the figurine. I shrugged, feeling like I was failing a test I didn't study for. Art, I guess? My parents said it was a gift. She didn't respond, just set the figurine down and jotted something in her notebook. That's when it hit me, a memory sharp as a blade. Last year, Jason and I had stopped by my sister Ellie's apartment in Ohio to return some dishes she'd borrowed and never given back. Her place was a mess. A chaotic maze of boxes just like this one, same glossy finish, same clinical tape job, same faint smell of varnish and glue. She'd been knee-deep in packing peanuts, calling it her inventory for some art hustle she swore was legit. When I'd picked up one of those boxes, curious, she'd practically yanked it out of my hands, saying her supplier was strict about who touched what. Strict. That word had stuck with me, and now it was screaming in my head. This wasn't just a random box. It was her box from her supplier, sitting in my kitchen with my name on it. My knees felt weak, like the floor was tilting. I glanced at Jason, and his eyes said he was thinking the same thing. This wasn't a gift. It was a setup. The officer looked up from her notebook. This shipment matches materials in an active investigation. Do you know where it came from? I shook my head, my voice catching. I told you. My parents sent it. They called yesterday to say it was coming. She tilted her head, like she was weighing whether I was clueless or complicit. Do you have proof of that? She asked. My heart raced. I hadn't planned for this, but I'd known something was off when my mom called. That's why I'd hit record on my phone during her second call, just in case. I grabbed my phone from the counter, my fingers fumbling as I pulled up the recording. Here, I said, pressing play. My mom's voice filled the kitchen, bright and hollow, like she was reading from a script. Sweetie, did it arrive? You're a little surprised? A pause, then her pushing. Did you open it? My own voice, flat and cautious. Yeah, I opened it. It's beautiful. Thank you. And then her all syrupy. Oh, sweetheart. We just wanted to remind you how much we love you. You're our girl. I stopped the recording, the silence louder than her voice had been. The officers exchanged another look, this one longer. The woman nodded once, like she'd just confirmed something. That's helpful, she said, but her tone didn't make me feel any better. These items are linked to a case involving fraudulent art sales. The supplier listed here is under investigation for moving stolen or counterfeit goods. My stomach churned. Stolen goods. Counterfeit. In my house, with my name on the label. I looked at Jason. His arms crossed, his face a mix of anger and "I told you so." He'd warned me not to open it, and now I understood why. This wasn't about my parents suddenly deciding to be thoughtful. This was Ellie, my golden child sister, and her endless string of creative hustles. Only this time, they'd used my name, my address, to cover their tracks. And my parents? They were in on it, playing their part with those fake sweetie calls, hoping I'd be dumb enough to open the box and take the fall. I felt sick, not just from the betrayal but from how close I'd come to playing along. If Jason hadn't noticed the label, if I hadn't recorded that call, I might have opened it, thinking it was just another half-hearted gift like the gas station candle they gave me years ago. The officers repacked the box, taping it back up like it was evidence, which I guess it was. "We'll need to take this with us," the woman said, her voice professional but not unkind. "You're not being charged at this time, but we may have more questions." I nodded, too stunned to say much. "No problem," I managed, my voice sounding like it belonged to someone else. They thanked us, carried the box out like it was a ticking bomb, and left us standing in our kitchen, the silence heavier than ever. Jason shut the door behind them, and I sank into a chair. My coffee long forgotten. The pieces were falling into place, and they painted a picture uglier than I'd ever imagined. My parents hadn't sent me a gift. They'd sent me a problem, wrapped in brown cardboard, with my name on it. And Ellie? She was the artist behind it all, with Mom and Dad as her loyal crew, betting I'd be the strong one who could handle the fallout. I looked at Jason, his face mirroring my own mix of shock and fury. "They really thought I'd open it," I said, my voice barely above a whisper. He nodded, his hand resting on my shoulder. "They really did." The days after the police took that box from our kitchen felt like living in a holding pattern, the kind of tense quiet you get before a storm breaks. I kept waiting for something, another call, another knock, anything to explain why my name was on a shipment of stolen goods. Jason and I went through our usual routine in our Chicago suburb home. Me tweaking logo designs for clients, him debugging code, but the air was different, like we were both bracing for the next hit. About a week later, my phone lit up with an unknown number. I almost didn't answer, but something told me to pick up. It was a detective, his voice calm but direct, like he'd done this call 100 times. "Russo, Carter? We need to confirm some details about the package. Got a few minutes?" I set my coffee down, the mug still warm, and said, "Sure." What else was I going to say? No. I'm too busy pretending my family didn't just throw me under the bus. He started with questions that felt like punches. "Have you ever registered a business under your name? Ever listed yourself as a co-owner or manager for any company tied to art sales or international supply chains?" I laughed, not because it was funny, but because the idea was so absurd. "I tried selling a bookshelf on Facebook Marketplace once," I said. "That's the extent of my entrepreneurship." He didn't laugh back. Instead, he sent me a document, a digital signature with my name, Russo Carter, scrawled in a way that looked like someone had glanced at my driver's license and taken a wild guess. It was paired with an email, russo73@catchyartmail, designs. One I'd never seen before. "Is this your signature?" he asked. "No," I said, my voice sharp. "And that's not my email." He asked if my family had access to my old documents, tax forms, ID copies. Anything. I swallowed hard. Yeah, years ago. I used to trust them. The past tense felt like a blade, cutting through years of naive hope. The detective laid it out, piece by brutal piece. My name had been listed as a silent partner in a business tied to Ellie's art hustle for over a year. A fake business license used my old Ohio address as the return center. Payment links, supplier contracts, even a digital trail traced back to Ellie's devices, all pointing to me as the fall guy. "You've been set up," he said, not unkindly, but the words landed like a slap. I sent him a written statement that afternoon, including a copy of my real signature for comparison, like I was proving I wasn't the ghost they'd made me out to be. He thanked me, said they'd follow up if needed, and hung up. I sat there, staring at my laptop, the cursor blinking on a half-finished design for a client's yoga studio. The irony wasn't lost on me. Ellie had done a yoga certification once, before pivoting to her art thing. Always evolving, never accountable. Weeks later, the legal fallout came into focus. Ellie was charged with wire fraud, identity theft, business fraud, and import-export violations, a laundry list of consequences for her so-called creative soul. She pled out, of course, because Ellie's tears could always soften a landing. 2 years probation, a fine that could have bought a decent used car, and a ban on holding a business license until she's well into her 40s. My parents didn't escape either. They were hit with conspiracy and aiding and abetting. There were just her parents' excuse crumbling under evidence of their involvement. Those calls, those lies, all to protect Ellie. They got suspended sentences, community service, and fines that probably stung more than their pride. Their names were now in the public record, no longer hidden behind the family facade. I didn't go to the hearing. I didn't need to see Ellie in a beige cardigan, crying for sympathy, or my mom clutching her hand like she was the victim. The court transcript was enough. My name appeared 12 times. Not one apology. Then, because life loves a cruel twist, they asked to meet. No Ellie, just mom and dad. Proposing a peace talk at a cafe near the courthouse. I almost said no, but a part of me, the part that still remembered being 8 and taking the blame for Ellie's broken vase, wanted to hear what they'd say. I showed up 10 minutes late, ordered a $12 blueberry scone just to make a point, and found them already seated. My mom's face was a mask of calculated concern, like she was trying to pick the expression that'd guilt me fastest. My dad sat stiff, his coffee untouched. I didn't sit right away. We didn't know she used your name. My mom started, her voice soft, like she was soothing a child. I crossed my arms. You didn't ask either. She said it was just for shipping. My dad chimed in, his throat clearing, tick kicking in, the one he used when logic ran dry. Yeah, I shot back. Because that's how fraud works. You ship it somewhere else and hope no one asks questions. My mom's eyes narrowed, but she kept up the act. We thought it was temporary.
She said you wouldn't mind.
I laughed, a bitter sound that surprised even me. She also said I'd open the package. Turns out she says a lot of things. The table went quiet, the hum of the cafe filling the space. Then my mom went for it, the line she'd clearly rehearsed. You've always been stronger, Russo. You don't have kids. No one depends on you. We thought you'd recover. There it was. The truth polished to a shine. They'd offered me up because my life, in their eyes, was expendable. No kids, no chaos. Just me and Jason in our quiet house, easy to sacrifice. You used my house, I said, my voice steady despite the fire in my chest. You thought I'd take the fall because Ellie's not built for this. My dad shifted, his mouth opening, but I cut him off. You decided my life was easier to lose. My mom's face crumpled, but not from guilt, more like she was mad I'd called it what it was. That's not what we meant, she said. That's exactly what you meant, I replied, standing up. My coffee was still half full, but I left it there. I hope you enjoy your community service, I said, my voice cold. Maybe you'll learn what real work looks like. I walked out, the cafe door swinging shut behind me. That night, I sat in our kitchen, the same spot where that box had mocked me. Jason was at a late meeting, and the house was quiet, just the hum of the fridge and the soft glow of streetlights through the window. I pulled out my phone and started deleting Mom's number, Dad's, Ellie's, every emergency contact, every backup, every trace. It wasn't anger, not anymore. It was necessity, like cleaning out a closet you've ignored for too long. They didn't get access to me anymore, not even the version they'd invented to justify their choices. When Jason got home, he found me still at the table, my phone dark. He didn't ask what I'd done. He just made tea, set a mug in front of me, and sat down across the table. The space where the box had been felt like a scar, but one that was starting to heal. sitting in our quiet Chicago kitchen. The morning light spilling through the window, I felt a weight lift that I hadn't realized I'd been carrying for years. After that cafe confrontation, I made a choice, not out of anger, but clarity. I blocked my parents' numbers, deleted Ellie's contact, and erased every digital trace of them from my life. It was like decluttering a room that had been suffocating me. Each tap on my phone carving out space for peace. Jason didn't ask questions when he saw me do it. He just handed me a coffee, his quiet support louder than any words. For the first time, I felt free, not just from their lies, but from the version of me they'd tried to pin down. My life with Jason, our cozy home, my freelance design gigs, it's not perfect, but it's mine. Built without their chaos. Looking back, I wonder, did I go too far, cutting them out completely, or not far enough to protect myself sooner? I'd love to hear what you think. Drop a comment below and let me know. If this story hit home, hit that subscribe button and join me for more real talk about life's messy moments. Let's keep the conversation going.